1-800-743-9610. Be sure to ask about our home phone service, too. Call 1-800-743-9610 today.
It's impossible to look away from it. Look at this.
Oh my God, that almost hit our car. Oh my God.
Scary moment for this couple trapped in their car by a hailstorm in Washington, D.C.
It's pea-sized hail that pelted their car on Tuesday, and winds up to 20 miles per hour blew patio umbrellas across the road like you just saw. Heads up, D.C., more storms like this could be in your future today.
Indeed. And some of the storms that do erupt could certainly put down some heavy rain, particularly north of D.C., northeast PA, up into portions of New England. That's going to be the zone where we have at least the possibility for flash flooding. Well, in the last 40 years, American cities have suffered through 31 major floods, each one causing at least $1 billion in damage.
This week, the Weather Channel Explorers begins a 3-part series, Finding the Floods. Our Dave Malkoff investigates how 3 cities devastated by flooding are racing against time before another disaster strikes.
And we start in Ellicott City, Maryland, where there's always a threat lurking below the surface.
Experts called it a 1,000-year flood. That's a once-in-a-1,000-year event, right? Wrong. Ellicott City, Maryland, May 2018. All this damage, all these lost buildings had just recovered from another 1,000-year flood only 22 months earlier. They're still, even today, removing debris from these buildings. In this series, we look at how 3 cities in this country are fighting the floods. We start here, Ellicott City. Years before the Revolutionary War, Ellicott City was already founded.
The width of this street hasn't changed very much at all.
Its mills humming with activity, powered by the waters that would flow downstream towards the center of town. Old Ellicott City's topography worked perfectly to push water towards its center, but conditions have changed in the last 250 years.
We have more intense and more frequent storms. And we can't have a plan that focuses on what can be done fast, but what can be done best.
2 major American cities, D.C. and Baltimore, have emerged around this historic town, yet the narrow horse and buggy streets and stone buildings still exist here in modern times.
So we're walking on top of water right now.
That's correct.
On this crosswalk.
Water is running under here as we speak.
Deputy Director of Public Works Mark Dillica took us through the latest plan to make the city safer when the next flood comes. It would require a reimagining of the city built more than a century ago.
This is the exact spot where a flash flood can go from bad to worse, where the Tiber and Newcut streams combine. Not only are you adding more water here, but you're pushing it through a tighter spot, almost as if someone took 2 fire hoses and tried to push that energy through a garden hose.
This is what's left of Kaplan's department store. Decades ago, someone put it on a bridge over the water.
This is the original building that might date back to the 18 or 1700s. And then this is a new addition that was put across the river.
Was that a good idea to do?
I think at the time, people thought so. I don't know more
will still likely have to come down just for safety purposes.
Howard County Executive Dr. Calvin Ball is looking to spend somewhere between $113 and $140 million to redirect the water flow. We're not talking about your typical road work here.
So this is the area where we were talking about a tunnel.
2 tunnels bored through what may be solid rock will move the water underneath Ellicott City and not through its streets.
I know that there are some who think that it can't be done, but I think that we are only held captive by the limitations of our imagination and our innovation of the technology.
They've already put up new signs and sirens, but we found one business owner who's not waiting for the government to step in.
So let me show you how I fixed it.
Randy Mariner jacked up his restaurant, raising it 18 inches off the ground.
We poured a concrete sidewalk to act as a storm gutter. We're here on the outside terrace. When it rains here, we put grates in here so when the rain falls, it has a place to go as well. And it goes through that wall, and there's a big pipe.
By the time the 2018 flood hit, the $500,000 system worked, and his business was saved.
Unfortunately, in the flood last year, there was one fatality, and that was our employee.
Eddie Germond, a restaurant manager, was also in the National Guard.
When the waters came, he saw somebody in danger and was trying to help her and got caught in flood waters. So, I can fix buildings. I can fix that. It's not inexpensive. I'm not exactly sure how it's going to be paid for. But it would be a tragedy to do nothing.
Hey, tomorrow, part 2 of Fighting the Floods. We look at a city that is swamped with flood problems. That's Houston. Dave Malkoff investigates the major flaw that the city makes a target for another disaster.
Well, still to come here on Weather Center Live, rumbles of thunder and flashes of lightning, keeping some folks up all night.
And it doesn't end there, where you could see wild weather just like this throughout the day.
Meanwhile, potential tropical trouble a little close to home. There you see it hanging out there right around the Bahamas, and the general direction it'll be going towards the north and the west, potentially there towards the southeast coast. We've got the chances that this wave could develop close to the southeast coast coming up next.